What is up, nerds? Welcome back to episode 43 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. It's been a while. Justin, how you been, man?
Can you believe we took a week off? It's funny every time we take a week off. We get messages like people like, "Did you quit the podcast? Are you ever going to record again?" And we're like, "Dude, it's been 1 week." You know?
Yeah, calm down. We get it. You love our horrible.
It's nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it is very nice. It is. It's very cool that you guys enjoy this goofy ass podcast that we thought 13 people would watch. But hey, man,
43 episodes.
I'm loving it. I always have fun. So today we're going to get into a few different things. I'll let Justin give you the topics. But before, I just want to say thank you to our title sponsor, which is PB Vision. They offer a AI-driven tool that you can upload your pickleball gameplay footage to, and it will analyze it, show you all different types of statistics, and this gives you great insight on ways that you can improve your game, and as well as see things that you're actually doing well. I think it's important to also know when you're doing something well, so you can still use that as your, your strengths, if you will, during your gameplay. It's just as important to know what you do well as to your weaknesses, in my personal opinion, and PB Vision is a great way to find those out. So if you use the link in the description, you can gain 15 bonus credits when signing up for PB Vision Premium. Thank you, PB Vision, for sponsoring the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. And Justin, you were saying that there is a new update. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about PB Vision is that it's not just, one and done. Basically, it's always improving. Even if it isn't a large update, it seems like they're always making improvements behind the scenes just to clear some things up. And then that being said, very recently, within the last couple of weeks, there was a large update to the platform. And, that just goes out to everybody who is signed up and uses it. And it helped just better identify some stuff. The AI model learned better to identify, who's hitting the ball. There were sometimes like false rally ending shots or things like that. Anyway, so it's just an all-around overall improvement and a big improvement at that. So very cool that the program is always, steadily improving. That's something you love to see from any product.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, especially considering it is fairly a new software, but it's just getting better and better. I remember the first time I used it, which was a long time before they sponsored us. I thought it was great, but, there were obviously a few bugs here and there, a few points that it thought was a point-ending shot when it wasn't, or, vice versa, a point-ending shot that it didn't actually register. So it's getting so good. I honestly do see a lot of value from it, and man, dude, I played this weekend, uploaded some of the footage. My fifths were trash. I don't know what was. I'm not sure if it was just like a lack of focus or what, but oh my God, dude, I missed so many fifths, and they were easy fifths.
We had a day, remember? You texted me. And we played the same day, 2 states apart, and the same thing happened because the same thing happened to me. I don't know why. Usually I'm pretty good at fifths, especially whenever you hit a good third and, you have a kind of a mid-court fifth. I'm fine at those shots. I missed them all that morning, and it was so frustrating. And then you texted me later, saying that your fifths were bad, and I was like, dude, I don't know. Something in the air today.
Yeah, it was rough, dude. Especially my backhand fifths. Oh, my God. But watched some of the footage back on PB Vision, and it just confirmed that was, a very prevalent issue, which is why we didn't score many points. I think I lost every game but one that day. And, if you can't get your fifths over and you're playing on the left side, dominant side in mixed, you're going to struggle. So, yeah, it was good insight. But anyway, anything else before we go over today's topics, man?
Yeah, real quick. Everybody check out Lewis's shirt. Look at that. The PP merch.
PP merch, baby. PP merch. Now, I got this in. Also got some shorts in. I'm actually, these are not them. I was wearing them earlier. But I got these in, guys. Let me know what you think about them. You can zip it up, have your just normal mode, or you can get, a little spicy and unzip it and, show some skin like me, and it's pretty like really good feeling shirt. I don't love that it's like gray rather than black. That's my only one gripe with these. So, I'm gonna let you guys let me know how you like it. And if it's well received, then maybe I'll keep it. Who knows? And get some more samples for you guys to purchase. So PP merch it's coming along. It's coming along.
About time.
Yeah, about
and
time,
while we're on
dude.
the topic, boom!
What is
out my
that?
awesome shirt. This is Tina Pisnick, bro. I'm a
I
big
don't know
Tina
who that
Pisnick
is.
fan.
Yeah.
Tina Pisnick is a pro player. You know nothing. She just made a deep run in Atlanta. She made it to the semis in both women's doubles and mixed doubles. Ended up 4th place in both of those. But yeah, I'm a big Tina fan. She's just like so under control always, like on the court.
Yeah.
Her demeanor and her play. Anyway,
Nothing like us.
No. But shout out Sarah for the shirt. I love it. And next big event I go to, I'm gonna wear my Tina Pisnick shirt. Tina has no idea who I am, of course, but maybe she'll think it's cool if she sees the shirt with her face on it. But anyway, yeah. So all right. So
what do we got?
Today we're gonna talk a little bit about the Nerdy Tourney. Since we missed last week, you probably heard about this on some of the other podcasts if you watched them, because we had the drawing for the teams. So we'll talk about our partners and just some other things. And then for paddles this week, it's actually not a huge list, but it's some kind of interesting paddles that have been buzzing. So we got the Ripple V2s. We've had multiple chances to play with those multiple times now. Lewis is going to talk a bit about the new Honolulu Pickleball Company foam paddles. And then there's the Holbrook ARMAs we're just going to touch on. And then last episode, man, we did some what's the best ball? And that got some engagement. Okay.
We got some ball busters, dude.
By engagement, yeah, I mean, I got some people telling us we were wrong and stupid.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people agree with me. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. A lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's a boring take that the X40 is the most predictable ball. It's literally used by like 80% of people. But yeah. I agree. So all that said, I'm going to touch a little bit on some ball updates. And then
you going to touch on some balls?
Yeah.
Good.
We'll get into net gains, new week, new main. We'll see if we got anything new for you guys there. And in NERDTOWN, we're going to talk about paddle variants, like within the same model. Say 2 people or you got 2 of the same exact paddle and they're playing slightly different. Why is that? Why could that happen? That type of thing. All right, dude.
Love it, dude. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us who your partner is for the Bread and Butter Nerdy Tourney?
I don't know. My partner. So Bread and Butter, just to bring everyone up to speed, I'm sure you all know this. They're doing what they're calling the Nerdy Tourney. It's 28 reviewers / influencers going to Florida to play in a tournament. What?
27 plus me, who's an idiot. So it's really,
It's really 27 plus me. I'm not a reviewer or an influencer. So I'm actually the one who was lucky to be invited, to be honest.
Riding them coattails, baby.
Oh, dude, hard. So, yeah, I mean, I have no idea why I got invited, but thanks, Doug.
No, you deserve it. You deserve it. You're very well known in the paddle landscape.
But it'll be fun, dude. It's going to be a blast. And so Doug and Aurora from Bread and Butter, they did a video where they drew random partners to see who's going to play with who. So there's a video on that if you want to watch it. But we get around to me. And my partner, I get drawn a mystery partner, the one and only mystery partner. So the little card, when they were holding up the card, said the professional amateur. And it was a little illustration of a girl. And they said that she's really good on the right side and that she's just really good. Her duper is a 4.85, which is much better than mine. So I'm happy about that. So I got a mystery partner and I'm looking forward to it. I think that's fun. It hurts my trash talk a little bit because like everyone started trash talking once they knew the partners. I don't have my partner to trash talk with, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. In a way, it sort of took the pressure off me because I'm like, I got this totally random mystery partner. Like that's just all about fun, which this tournament's all about fun anyway, but it's easy to get caught up in the competition part. So I don't know. It just feels like my team is the total wild card, dark horse, and no one knows what to expect one way or the other, and that sort of takes the pressure off. So that's nice.
I do know who Justin's partner is, but I will not tell him. I won't tell anybody.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I know who your partner is. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's just you have to wait a week, or however
I'm
long
fine with
until
Yeah.
we're close.
I'm not
We're
worried.
getting close.
I like surprises, so I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm going to be there to have fun, and the whole aspect is going to be the whole tournament itself is going to be super fun. Yeah. All right. What about you? Who is your partner?
Well, I got partnered up with the massive 5.1 duper Mihongus, or Majangus, not sure. Steven Majangus. We're going to call him Majangus. But, man, what a name. PP and Majangus.
Pickleheads, right?
Gonna be, yeah. Oh, yeah. He runs the Pickleheads court locator website. I think he's from Utah.
Yes.
He sent me some gameplay of him. He's real consistent.
He did? Man, you guys have been scouting already?
Oh, yeah. I was like, hey, man. Messaged him next day. I was like, hey, we're partners. Here's some gameplay footage of me. You're going to want to watch this. And go ahead and just send me some of your footage. I probably won't be able to understand any of the things you're doing, but I'd like to see how you play. And yeah, he's good. He's just, bro. The thing about watching 5-0 players is you're like, oh, they're just playing pickleball. But the thing is, they're doing all of the things that we wish we could do consistently.
And just not missing.
So it's like, yeah, he just doesn't miss shots. So it's like, just hit the ball to me, guys, if y'all want to win. That's your... Are
you going to be a little right side princess?
Bro, I'm going to be the petitest of right side princess. I'm going to be right on that edge of the right side line.
Honestly, probably me too, dude.
Dude. So me and Majangus are going to be slapping y'all up. So just watch out.
I think y'all are a strong team.
I would agree, yeah. But also, there's some other good teams out there. I think, let's do this. Who do you think is going to win it? You can't pick yourself.
Probably Farmer, dude. That team looks strong. So Brent,
I couldn't agree more.
Pickle Farm, he's a 5.3. I've seen just a little bit of his gameplay, but he's super smooth. And then Farmer Lanky. Honestly, Farmer Lanky's good. He may have like an unorthodox lanky style, but the dude is good, and he's a lefty.
Yeah.
So they have like a righty-lefty combo. And they have the highest duper, combined duper at everybody. So that's going to be a good team to beat. Honestly, you never know what can happen, but I think that'll be a good team to beat. I actually think, you were maybe like 4th or 5th highest duper combined. I think your team is pretty strong. If you have like a solid 5-0 and then you can just like slot into your role, I think you could do pretty well. And then
Majangus and I are just going to slide on in, dude.
And then Tickle and All Drive, they're podcast co-hosts.
That's a good squad. That's a good squad.
I don't know if they've played together.
If
they've played together and they know each other's games well, then it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I would say if Jacob is a true 4-5, which is what he plays in, he's medaled in multiple tournaments, they're going to be very good.
Yeah,
I would say for sure. My pick, I would say Farmer and Farm have the best shot. Farmer Lanky's duper is grotesquely deflated, like
what
worse than yours. It's like 3.8.
But mine's 3.3, bro.
He's so much better than you, Justin.
Okay, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, he plays 4-5 all the time.
Yeah, so they made this combined duper list, right? And I told you my partner's at 4.85. Well, on the combined duper list, our team actually would have had the lowest, but whenever they made it, they were like, "We're not putting you down as a 3.3." They just like. You made me a 4.0 for the combined duper, and then I'm actually in the middle. But if you use my real duper and then my partner's real duper, I'm pretty sure we have the lowest out of everybody.
I think Matthew K and Downtown Logan Brown have the lowest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but as of now, because they put me down as a 4.0.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
y'all
but
are not. You're not.
Take 0.7 off that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I would say Farm and Farmer are the favorites. All Drive, No Drop, and Tickle are also favorites. Braden, you're not gonna win, dude. I'm sorry. He's been saying he's gonna slap everybody up. You ain't gonna do it, big guy.
I can't give it to him because oh well, let me not spoil the pod battle. I was about to spoil something from the podcast battle. So
well, I think Braden's a very good player.
Of course.
I think there's some ballers in there who are at his level as well with
Braden's
real
very
good partners. Not to say that Matt's Pickleball
You guys will
is a
see
bad partner.
on the podcast battle. I won't spoil any results, but he got me a few times with some real sneaky shots. Just like the type of shots we were talking about, those 5-0 shots where it like doesn't look that special.
Mm-hmm.
But when it happens to you, you're like, oh, and then it didn't even look that hard. I was like, oh man. So he got me quite a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
All right.
Ready to dive into some paddles?
Yeah, I'll see you in the finals.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're not going to.
I honestly have, like I said, I have no expectation, no pressure. Me and my mystery partner, we're going to have a blast, and maybe we'll win it all. You never know.
It is definitely going to be fun. All right. Moving on. Paddles, baby. Let's start with Ripple V2s. The Ripple is here. It's approved. It's happening. This is the part in the office where Michael Scott's like, oh my god, it's happening. This is everybody say go. Yeah, Ripples are here, dude. These are approved, PB Core 0.43 certified. So I actually have played a lot with these. Played a ton with the R4. I've probably played.
You played 15, a whole tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, I probably played 15, maybe 20 games now. I picked this up for a money ball and played with it. So here's my thoughts. There's a lot of varying opinions, like pretty drastic in my mind. There's a lot of people who are saying that they think these are equivalently as powerful as the production model that got, not delisted, but never actually made it past approval process because they retested some other samples and they failed. Those paddles were ungodly powerful.
And incredibly loud also.
Yeah, those were the most powerful paddles I've probably ever tested that was not the Vice or the Hush.
Honestly, might be. I think those production Ripples were in the same category as the Hush and the Vice.
Yeah, they were insane. Then these are, in my personal opinion, and Justin, I think you and I are virtually, the same in terms of how we feel these play. I think these play just under the Yola Pro 4s, which is a pretty drastic step down in terms of power from the last production models, the final of the V1s, if you will. Not to say that these are not very, very powerful and very, very poppy and very, very offensive paddles, because they still are.
Top of the legal limit.
They got a lot of boing to them, as you like to say. But yeah, lots of people are varying opinions on that. I think me, you, Chris, and there was one other reviewer for sure. John Q, I think, confirmed this, but I don't want to speak for him. But he thought it was under the Yola Pro 4s, but
and his Q Core showed it there.
Okay, yeah. So
his Q Core showed it basically right at the top of the legal limit. They kind of grouped up around the Pro 4s and the 12.7s from Paddle Tech.
Mm-hmm.
It was all in the same neighborhood, which. Yeah, for me, just to clarify real quick, I don't know that I'd say under the Pro 4s, but I need more time with both. I would just say, it's in the same neighborhood. And the reason why I make that distinction is because, the R2, for instance, I almost think that the Scorpius is more powerful. However, when you go up to the R1 Ripple, the elongated one, it's actually quite heavy and has a high swing weight. And I think that competes with the Perseus, if not more powerful than the Perseus. So it kind of varies from the shape, and a lot of that has to do with the weights and swing weights, because the elongated Ripples are pretty head heavy and have high swing weights, so that contributes to power, of course. Whereas the V2, I mean, it's not light. Mine was like 116 for a standard shape on swing weight and over 8 ounces. But there's less power on this one. But definitely still you get that like kind of trampoline boing.
Yeah, still need to compare them side by side with the YOLOs, but the 16 millimeter YOLOs are about as powerful and poppy, or I would say that they are the tip of the legal limit for power and pop currently on the market. So I think what you're saying is right. Yeah, they are in the neighborhood. It's not like
they're all at the top, basically.
Yeah, don't think it's like YOLO's here and then the Ripples are way under. It's like it's pretty close. They're just, in my personal opinion and play testing, they're just under there. So there's been some conflicting thoughts. You know, Braden did a test and his scored on a serve test the same as the production models that failed back in late January, early February. And some other people, you know, have said they're exactly the same, like Dustin from PB Med. So the thing about that is that all of those people are very credible and, you know, they're not saying things that are just, you know, random thoughts. So that's
Right.
kind of no one really knows until we get all of our paddles together and play with them. So I do think these paddles are still good. They're just so freaking heavy stock, like especially the R1. The R1 is very, very heavy. R2 for a standard shape paddle, mine was 117 swing weight. 14 millimeter, 117 is crazy.
Yeah, mine's
high.
116 for a standard.
Yeah.
A 14 millimeter. Yeah, it's really high.
Yeah, I think
Feels
my
heavy
R4
also.
was lower swing weight than my R2, if I do remember correctly.
They're
By like
about the
a point.
same because my R4 was 117, my R2 is 116. I think yours were flipped.
Yeah, but so let's talk a little bit about the playability. I played with these, specifically the R4, in a Moneyball tournament. I did not have a really big issue with control with this. There was just a couple of shots that got away from me, but nothing out of the ordinary. For whatever reason, the past few months, all of the sudden, I've been able to kind of, control super powerful paddles. Maybe it's just a gradual, my gradual movement towards more powerful and poppy paddles that has allowed me to do that. But I thought these were fairly controllable, not control-oriented at all. But this R4, by far, is the best shape, in my personal opinion. It's almost identical to the Vatic Flash shape. Maybe just a slightly longer handle.
Definitely longer.
Yeah.
Definitely longer.
Yeah, you're right. It is definitely longer. But the shape itself, one of the better hybrid shapes. It does have a taper, which is a little bit unfortunate. If you haven't heard the soapbox that Justin and I say every week, if you lose a little bit of stability when you cut these corners down and taper them just a little bit. So, which this paddle lacks pretty drastically. Stock, these are not stable paddles at all. The sweet spots are good, but the fall off from sweet spot to miss hit is very drastic. One of the more drastic sweet spot fall offs that I have experienced in a while, which is pretty consistent with most EVA foam cores. So the Adidas Metal Bones were a perfect example of this. They had teeny tiny sweet spots, and as soon as you miss a sweet spot, it was dead. This is not nearly as drastic as that, but it's a pretty substantial fall off. So I liked them. Got good spin, great power, great pop, relatively controllable, not at all control oriented, like I said, but nonetheless, a paddle that I still think is going to be very popular. It's pretty expensive though. We'll see how the break-in period. 280, yep. And they will be releasing, I think it's the 30th of May. So be on the lookout for that. If you're already a Ronbus Connect member, I think they're already on sale, right?
Not sure.
Yeah,
not a
something like that. But at the very least, they get early access. So what were your thoughts, man?
Okay, well, let me say this first, and then I'll get into playability. Props to Dong and Ronbus, because I didn't know that we would see the day, like a legal Ripple with a very similar build. But dude stuck with it for sure, and was, you know, very determined to make this build work. And, you know, clearly they worked very closely with USAP, which, you know, I give them a lot of credit for. And the reason I say it's clear is because there was a statement that came out from Ronbus and from USAP about these. So clearly they're communicating behind the scenes, and everyone's making sure like these don't break down. They pass the testing. Everything's above board, which is awesome. You know, given how everything went down last time, I'm not here to say who is in the right or the wrong, but I could just see that there maybe would have been some resentment from either side, and maybe some, you know, resistance to working together like that in that way. So the fact that they did work together and were very professional about it this time around, I think that deserves some credit.
100%.
Okay, so now let me talk about this real quick. You were just talking about the shape. You know what this shape is very similar to is the Mark 1X shape, actually. Has the same taper. Has quite a long handle. Look, dude. I can like get this without even the finger up here. This is extremely similar. Like, I should grab one and hold up to it, but it has the same kind of thinner throat. So even though the handle is already over 5.5 inches long, you can still fit more fingers easily. And then anyway, so I like the R4 shape. Just the weight and the balance of it is a little high, but overall I still think it's kind of the best. This R2 shape in general from Ronbus I've actually really liked. Oh, did you have a 1X?
No, I just got a flash just so you can look at the same exact face, except the taper but then is a little more aggressive.
Yeah, the throat and taper, I actually really liked this R2 shape in the past from Ronbus.
The R4 shape is honestly very good. If somebody made this in a non-tapered version, whew.
Yeah. I mean, that'd basically be like the Invader with a touch longer handle.
Yeah.
At that point. The R2 I played with quite a bit, like I said, because I've liked the R2 in the past. And, you know, I don't know, man. I just couldn't connect with these paddles. And, of course, I'm someone who doesn't love paddles that boing, you know, that have like kind of that, we'll call it logarithmic curve, you know, or are less linear, you know, where but even beyond that, like I've tested enough paddles that I can still play with paddles like that. It's not my preference, but something about this one, it was just kind of unpredictable for me in a way that I didn't like. And what you were talking about, I totally agree with and makes perfect sense. Like the sweet spot is big, right? When you're just talking about how much of the face returns a lot of energy. But it doesn't strike you on first impressions as a paddle with like, wow, this is a huge sweet spot. Because if you do happen to hit wildly off center, you know, like you see my ball mark up here, it's going to like really die or rotate the paddle, you know, and just kind of clunk. And this makes sense from a manufacturing standpoint. When you look at the x-rays, right, they have this entire foam ring around, and it's like a less dense foam. And then in the middle, they have the ribs, the carbon fiber ribs. So you're concentrating all of your weight in the center of the face here. So two things happen. Number one, they have very low twist weights because the perimeter is actually less weighted than the center. So you have low twist weights, so you get the forces.
In the V2 models.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And then the second thing that happens, though, is when you do hit dead center and you have kind of a majority of the weight of the paddle behind the strike, you get like a good solid feel. But then as soon as the majority of the weight's here, you know, in the center, and then you're hitting over here, it's just so easy to twist. This is very similar to Gearbox's construction. Gearbox has always had with their SSD core like really low twist weights, and the reason why is like a lot of the weight of those paddles is concentrated right through the center and kind of high up. And
another
that's why
paddle, you hit the very center, it feels amazing, and then you miss
big drop
the
off.
Center. Humongous difference in feel.
So yeah, like even though they may technically have a large sweet spot, it doesn't give you that feeling. It doesn't. Okay, this is a good way to put it. They do have a big sweet spot, but they're not forgiving, right? At all.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was listening to Chris on the Pickleball Studio podcast talk about the Ripple, and like I couldn't agree with him more. Sometimes this happens where two people are 100% aligned on a paddle, but honestly, not always. Usually people have like nuanced opinions. But every single thing Chris said, I completely agree with. It's exactly my experience. And the main one that he said that I haven't heard anyone else said that I agree completely about is they have like almost like a tingy feel. It feels not like it's super stiff, but there's something about the structure that's almost tingy at ball contact. And you feel kind of these high frequency vibrations and a bit of stiffness, not in the overall structure of the paddle. Like the whole paddle isn't a stiff paddle, but it's the facing layer and the structure where you're hitting feels stiff. It feels like a stiff part that is kind of moving within the paddle, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like imagine that this structure is super stiff and then it moves a little, but it moves as a whole stiff piece. I don't know. So not my favorite. I think the spin was certainly lower than the old Ripples because you're not getting as much pocketing, but it's still like normal field ply. Yeah, still good, totally acceptable. Tons of power, really good put away power. Like at the net.
However, the issue too, and the more powerful a paddle becomes, the more necessary it is to have elite spin. You know, Gearbox Pro Power Elongated is the biggest culprit of this. It had elite power, trash spin. You know, not trash, but it was, you know, below. Average. Yeah, it was below great, below good. Mm-hmm. And because of that, people had a tremendously challenging time shaping it and keeping it in and controlling it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't say it. I hate the handles. Yeah. They're so incredibly squishy. And they're also like really, the top section here is really wide. So it's a very square kind of rectangular feel. And it's just insanely squishy, more squishy than a normal EVA pallet.
If you like very squishy handles, you're going to love these. But they do a good job of, you know, lowering the vibration frequencies.
Look, first time ever I had to step out of frame on the podcast.
What happened?
You know, I didn't have to. I just thought about these. So I wanted to show, I don't even know if I've shown you this, but these are 3D printed little handle pallets. So this is what I've been doing recently. So basically, I've just been 3D printing. They're shaped the same, and this is at PetG. And I will, if I'm going to play with the paddle and it has, you know, bad pallets, I'll just take the handle apart and put the 3D printed ones in there. And these are so crisp and they feel good. And really, the weight is like they're like 9 grams each, and the weight of a normal pallet's like 7 grams each. Anyway, so if you or someone you know has a 3D printer and you want to kind of crispen up your handle, you can 3D print these. I'll send the link to you, Lewis, if you don't mind. You could put the link in the description. Mm-hmm. There's like Maker World is a site where you can go and see 3D print files, and I'll give you the link. You can put it up there if anybody wants to print their own.
Did you make
those?
It out.
Yeah, well, not me. Yes, and no. Okay. It's my someone I know. So
gotcha. Cool. Is it free?
Yeah, it's free.
Damn, bro, that's very nice of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, they just go to the site and you can just that site has all kinds of files for all kinds of stuff. You download it and you still have to have a 3D printer to print it yourself. So it's not free. Right.
Yeah.
It's not free. You know, you
but I mean, it's free to download the model or the
file. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is actually, these
that will be in the description. Don't forget to send that to me, please.
Yeah. And this file's pretty straightforward. You know, I've considered actually making an interesting one with, you know, like a more rounded feel here up at the top or something different. This is pretty much an iteration off of what my personal favorite handle shape is. Someone may edit this and think that they like it thicker or more rectangular or whatever. Also, we had a viewer named Aaron who had sent me in the past a file of, you know, some of his, you know, favorite shape palettes. And these are similar, but I edited a little bit to kind of change the shape to my preference. So anyway. Nice. So I'm not the first to do this. I'm not claiming that like it's super original or anything like that. Just something that for you super nerds who want to tinker and hate soft palettes like me, I'll put the link if you want it. I don't get anything from it, but yeah.
Well, sweet, man. Anything else on the Ripples?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I'll be playing with them a little more, comparing them with other paddles and, you know, developing my final thoughts as to where they actually, you know, lay in terms of the power spectrum. So, speaking of some more power paddles, we have the new J2NF paddles. we have 3. We got the NFT, non-fungible token. The NFK. I couldn't think of a funny acronym for that. And the National Football League, which is just going to be the J2NF going forward. So these are obviously the J2 shape with a fully foam core that is floating. It has, I think it's, JM said it's like 320 degrees of foam all the way around. Basically, it kind of just stops right where my fingers are. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see it. If not, it's right before the neck taper meets the handle. So it basically makes this have a fairly similar feel to the True Foams or even the Yola Pro 4s, obviously, because those are floating, or the propulsion core. So the NFL NF is going to be a CFC layup with that fully foam core that is floating. The NFK, Kevlar, and the NFT will be titanium. All 3 of these paddles, pretty good stock weights. I think my NFL, which is the fiberglass carbon fiber, was 111 6.9, so 111 swing weight, 6.9 twist weight. The NFK was 113 6.9 twist weight, and the NFT was 112 6.9 twist weight. So they all are very, very stable.
Classic J2, man.
Yeah, out the box, just like every
brings
J2.
Those metrics.
Yeah, they are pretty much the king of min-maxing in the hybrid shape, the J2s. So these paddles are not USAP approved. They're being submitted, so they're going through the approval process. People, it gets a little hairy when we're talking about paddles that may not even be approved. I would be shocked if these don't pass.
Really?
USAP approval, but there is always that chance that they may not. With that being said, I played a lot with the NF, which is the CFC layup, and quite a bit with the NFT. Now, my favorite was by far the NF, because the CFC layup just gives it a little extra pop and gives you a little more feedback. Justin, I'm sure you are very well attuned to this, but foam paddles do have a slightly more muted feel in some circumstances, depending on what the core is made out of, or the recipe, if you will, of the core. So these do have a pretty muted feel. So this CFC layup does help make it feel a lot more lively and give you a little more feedback with your shot. The NFT is one of the more muted paddles I've ever played with. It is like low vibration, which is common with the titanium or polyester weave faces. But all these paddles get ridiculously good spin, very, very stable, huge sweet spots. And apart from the shape, there's really nothing negative I can say about these paddles. J2 shape just has that wide neck taper, which is, its biggest strength and weakness, in my personal opinion, helps make it one of the most stable paddles on the market. And they're maneuverable. Pop is great. Power is, I would say, above the True Foam, but under the Yola Pro 4s for sure.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, so, as usual with the J2 paddles, we've seen with the FC Plus, these NFs are going to be a little bit less powerful than the FC Plus, but it's not a bad thing. I think these are going to be, if they get approved, these will probably be the new May. They're pretty damn good. Can you tell I've been playing with elongated paddles?
Your ball marks are all
ball
the top.
dust like all the top, yeah. Not my backhand side. My backhand side's everywhere.
Oh yeah, I forget you have a designated side. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't have these, but just want to say,
I'm sorry.
I appreciate
real quick. $195 before code is their expected price. So
Okay.
I think
Under 200.
I think it's 170 something after code Pursuit 10. So pretty insanely good deal as you would expect from Honolulu.
Yeah, from Honolulu.
Yeah. All right. Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I don't have these. I haven't tried them. But just in general, I just want to say, like, I love to see the, like, thoughtfulness in the design. Here's something that I've kind of said this to you a couple times, and this has been like a small frustration of mine. It seems that we were dealing with honeycomb paddles, right? And then brands figured out ways to make them better, whether that's a floating core, a foam ring, additional foam. Basically those are the things. Now you have to do that right. We went through the process. Basically, people figured out thermoforming was good. Then they broke like crazy at the beginning. Then we figured out how to do it right. Now we figured out these Gen 3 builds. Oh, hey, this helps performance. They broke like crazy at the beginning, and now people have figured it out mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now with this move to foam replacing honeycomb, we'll say, because really it's a lot of these are EPP foam, which is just polypropylene. They're just replacing the honeycomb. It seems like a lot of companies have just like kind of forgotten all the stuff that they learned from their polypropylene builds and just went right back to like, let's just put one full slab of EPP in there. Well, guess what? It plays okay, but also a paddle with one full slab of honeycomb plays okay. So it's like, don't forget all the things you learned from using honeycomb, which it seems like these paddles, they didn't. They took all the items that they learned from Gen 3 about, the foam edge and building in a pivoting core or floating core or whatever you want to call it, and then applied those principles to the full foam core. Of course, we're going to go through the same process now, where when we move to full foams, where it's probably like a lot of breakage in the beginning as people figure it out, and then they'll figure it out. But I definitely think we're going to see a lot more of this, but I'm just surprised that it's taken so long. Like we've seen all these paddles release like Blue Core, 008. The True Foam is its own thing. We'll leave that over here. Good on them. Great development. But where they're just like, hey, here's a paddle with a slab of foam in it. It's like, we could use a little creativity, a little bit more thoughtful design.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it
props
would be
to
nice.
Honolulu for that.
We kind of talked about this right before the podcast, but there is definitely some value to having just a full foam core because it's, in theory, as long as it doesn't despond or delam, it will be a more durable core, 100%. And as long as it plays similarly to the honeycomb cores, it's almost like this could just be the switch.
Right. I agree with you. They could switch. That could be your mid-level replacement.
Exactly.
But we're talking about a performance. I want to make the best possible paddle. That's not it. But just a solid slab of foam, I see as like your mid-level replacement. Let's just replace honeycomb.
But I don't think that honeycomb will be replaced immediately. But I do, based on a few prototypes that we've tested that are just solid foam cores, they play just as good. They're...
Yeah, you say a few. I'm probably 30 plus deep now on
I was about to say, you play with way more prototypes. But yeah, I mean, foam is slowly creeping in. It's creeping up and potentially going to give polypropylene a run for its money, in my personal opinion.
I think it feels slow right now.
2 weeks ago, I was like, it's overrated. It's trash.
It only seems like it's creeping slowly right now because of the development timelines. But before the end of this year, you're going to see like 10 plus foam paddle releases from brands across the board. And then into basically the first half of next year, then pretty much everybody's going to have them. And if they're not, they're going to be considered like behind. So it only seems slow right now. It's not really slow. Everyone's doing it. Now, it's going to be really cool to see.
Everyone has a prototype out for sure.
At least. It's going to be really cool to see, to go back to what I was saying, who does it right, who has thoughtful design, who goes beyond just, hey, let's just replace honeycomb with foam, And of course, this is something I'm personally excited about and invested in and, doing daily. So I can't wait to see a couple things that I know about release, and hopefully I get to talk about them in detail.
Oh, baby. All right. Well, J2NF's definitely a paddle to be on the lookout for. Just right now, I would say that they are one of the best paddles on the market if they get approved. Just immediately. So really good. It's nice to have a hybrid shape with a fully foam core that is stable and very, very high performative. When you pair that with a floating core, making it extremely powerful, it's just icing on the cake. So we'll move on to another set of paddles that has a very intriguing design, which is the Holbrook ARMAs. So I got these in. Justin, have you had a chance to try these out or play with these or see
No, I don't have
them
them.
in person? Yeah. So
I've seen dissection pictures and multiple different X-rays. That's about it.
I got the ARMA T and the ARMA Metallic T, as well as the, what is it called? ARMA Metallic X. So this is the shorter handle one. I've played one game with these, so I'll be very, very quick with the thoughts on this Metallic T. Felt powerful, but nothing that was insane. I would definitely say it's a power paddle. Felt on the lower end of paddle, but this was the metallic one, so maybe the carbon fiber has a little bit more pop and power to it, as we see most of the time when comparing two paddles that are the same construction with just titanium versus carbon fiber. So paddle feels good overall. I really like the handle. Handle feels great. Holbrook has been making just very aesthetically pleasing paddles the past couple of releases, and they kind of continued on with their same look that they did with their edgeless paddles, but obviously added edge guard and this new ARMA decal kind of throughout the paddle. But yeah, looks are great. Performance feels good. I do have a lot of durability concerns. I'll be very shocked if this paddle does not core crush. With that being said, spoke with the owner. The owner said he was fully confident that there will be no durability issues. Like, direct quote, fully confident that there will be no durability issues. So not a we might have durability issues, like we could potentially get, he said, no durability issues. So may be able to take his word for it. I think he's a pretty good guy. I'm sure they've done a lot of testing, but as we all know, you can't say a paddle is going to have no durability issues until it gets out in the market and is actually tested by the masses. So I will definitely be playing with this more. It did not stand out to me as an exceptional paddle. It stood out as a very good paddle, but nothing that I was like, oh, this
But
is
you need some more time with it.
Yes,
and I think you
course.
do need to play the carbon one, because from what I've heard from the other reviewers, everyone's liking that one better than the titanium. Yeah. So like I said, I haven't got to play with them, but I have seen dissection photos. I have seen 3 different X-rays from different sources.
They do not inspire confidence.
No, I've seen 2 different dissection photos. One of them is pretty publicly available. One of them is private. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't feel confident about the durability at all from what I'm seeing. If these truly end up to be durable, it's going to go against everything that we thought we knew about honeycomb durability. I'm sure people probably know, but the design has like a large perimeter of foam that's wrapped in carbon fiber, and then there are 10 millimeter cells through the majority of the body, and then there's a small piece of honeycomb like that is a U shape at the top that's 8 mil cells. So there's actually different cell sizes, and there's like a upside down U shape where the cores join. The honeycomb in every single one of the X-rays I've seen, multiple paddles, 3 different sources, looks scary to me, as in damaged. And then that join from the 10 mil to the 8 mil, I don't know. Honestly, if I had to guess from what I know from prototypes and stuff, I would think that the majority of the playability and the uniqueness of this paddle comes from that very large foam perimeter that's wrapped in carbon, which is an interesting way to do it. And I would almost think that whether you had one full core of 8 mil cells, one full core of 10 mil cells, it would probably play pretty similarly with only slight differences to their split core. I don't know that split core of the honeycomb's doing anything. I think the foam's probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And if they somehow stay durable, it's probably because of that carbon wrapping the foam. making pretty much a large perimeter of kind of a firm standoff, and that's somehow protecting the honeycomb from taking too much load.
Yeah, that's kind of
I'm speculating.
a topic.
Let me be clear.
Tyler
I'm speculating.
was saying. He was like the amount of pressure that's on this outside of this core to keep it in, a structurally stable frame is pretty high, and which is like part of the reason why I was like, I don't have any, I have no worries about durability issues. So,
well, if he's right, good on them, because I think they've discovered how to put mangled honeycomb in a paddle and it be okay. But I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just very skeptical. The X-rays look scary.
There's about 10% of the cells look healthy. The 90% look either compressed or crushed.
For work, I regularly essentially do what extended QC, we'll call it, where I will work off of dissections of paddles and sometimes X-rays or CT scans sent from other sources, and then basically give my opinion. If I dissected this based on the dissection images I've seen, or if I was working with a brand and they sent me these images, I would say absolutely not. You need to tell your factory to fix the honeycomb. That's what I would consider to be, up to this point, from everything we've learned from years of doing this, that's not okay. Now, I'm open to being proven wrong, though. I really am. So, and I'll be very interested, of course, because there's something to learn there if I am wrong. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling. And of course, like I said, it's all speculation. I haven't played the paddles, so I'm not trying to be too unfair here. All right. Well, I think that's all the paddles, right?
I want to real quickly just go over a bunch of paddles that dropped, starting from most important to least important in my personal opinion. The Gearbox GX2 Hyper launched yesterday. You can use code Pursuit. Yeah, mained this for quite a while. You can kind of hear I've broken this bad boy in. It's starting to have some compression with the foam in the ribs, but with the SST core, the rib structure is like always going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It will have some form of integrity, but the foam that is inside of those ribs will be able to, like, you'll hear it kind of moving around. So I actually really love this paddle. May go back to it one day. Who knows? Next is the Friday Fever. This is the $99 Gen 3 paddle from Friday. Good paddle, man. I played with it some more. I did start to like it a little bit more, especially with weight. Haven't broken it in yet, so it does have a break-in period. Could potentially break down, but for $99, and from what I've heard, they have excellent customer service.
Yes, they have a 99-day love it or return it, which is crazy. So I have only good things to say about that paddle.
Yeah.
To me, that paddle is, if you love the feel of Gen 3 paddles, but you don't want top-of-the-line power, then that's the paddle. Like, that is essentially a Gen 3 high all-court paddle. It has everything, all the feel and the dwell and the sweet spot of a Gen 3 and that kind of Gen 3 feel, if you will. But it just doesn't have top-of-the-line power, which I'm not saying as a fault, because as a trade-off, it has really good control.
Yep. So, paddle that I would recommend to anyone who's looking for a budget-friendly paddle that, I think it's pretty damn good looking too.
I'm regularly recommending Friday to people who are newer or buying a gift for someone and just want, like, hey, I just want a good paddle, but I don't want to spend too much. I'm like, here's where you need to look.
Yeah, get the Fridays. Selkirk Lux. This is the Lux 2, if you will. Just dropped as well. Code, I think it's INF-Pursuit. Will give you a digital gift card when purchasing these. I've played with this sparingly. It's an upgrade on the previous Lux for sure.
Definitely.
Especially with the Infinigrit, has a little bit more power and pop. So overall, not a paddle that I would play with, but if you are a Lux person, it is a no-brainer upgrade.
Probably my pick for best edgeless paddle. I know I've said that a lot, but
yeah.
I think that might be the best edgeless paddle on the market. Actually has a great feel. It's good.
Supercourt HX Fresh is here
I
as
love
well.
this colorway.
Yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful paddle. I just literally want to play with this paddle. I already know everything I know about these Supercourts, but I just want to play with this paddle because it's so good looking.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so just a couple paddles that dropped that I wanted to remind you guys if you were on the lookout for. We got some blue cores coming soon. Franklin C45 standard and elongated's coming. So lots of paddles that are about to drop, including the Ronbus on the 30th. So if you're looking to buy a paddle in about 2 weeks, you'll have a insane selection to choose from. So all right, man.
All right.
You want to touch on some balls?
Yeah, I want to touch on some balls real quick.
Okay.
This is kind of a follow-up. I'll need another follow-up. But to our previous episode, everybody said,
a good follow-up to follow up.
You got to try these. You got to try these. You got to try these. You're wrong. You're stupid. Those are horrible. So I went through the comments and got all the ones that were recommended more than a couple times. And I've been ordering balls. So here's what we got. Core outdoor pickleballs. I haven't played with any of these yet. That's what I'm saying. I need another follow-up. I'm just collecting.
Raving reviews for those.
That's why I'm saying this one first. This is the one that was probably most recommended as a good durable ball. We'll see. Haven't played with any of them. So next up, this one's interesting. Owl CK40, and it's interesting because it is the official ball of the APP. Oh,
really?
Yeah, and I haven't played with it, but
I thought the APP ball was the X40. When did that change?
Just this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That shows you
this
how much
ball
I
is
watch
so
APP.
green, by the way. I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but like, can you see how green versus yellow it is?
Yeah, it looks.
And I think I might be in the minority here, but I like a yellow ball more than a green ball.
Oh yeah, definitely a yellow ball.
Okay, good. Because
definitely.
I don't know. You guys like yellow or green balls? I feel like some people like a green ball. But anyway, interested to try this. The reason why I say it's interesting is because, we don't see that much talk about it. But what I really don't see is any complaints about it from the APP pros. Like, there's no weird clips of the ball. Like, there's always PPA clips of the ball doing some weird shit, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen those same clips from APP, and I've been watching a little bit more APP. Dude, the camera work is like good. It's better than PPA. There's like a big giant moving boom. There's like close-ups on the players. It's more of, when you're watching it, it's more like you're there.
Broadcast.
I don't know. Yeah, it's more like a sports broadcast. It's actually really good. So
nice. Good for them.
Yeah, it says lasts more than 3 times longer than the leading pickleball in impact testing. So we shall see. Okay, here's another interesting one. Komodo Bio Ball. This one is worth trying because it's a biodegradable ball. And if it's good, then that's awesome because, we go through pickleballs like crazy. And, it feels decent in the hand, but haven't tried it. And then, whack the mic. All right, I got so much hate for liking the Chuck. And it's been...
Did you hate for it?
Dude, everyone's like, you're so wrong. And then there's been more talk on the PB Studio Discord. There's a whole channel about balls. So,
oh God, a ball channel.
Anyway,
dude.
Yeah. So the last batch I got 2 boxes before, so I had 6 of these. But it's probably been 6 months since I played with them. So look, I'm checking myself. Look, did they change? Are you guys playing with something different than what I'm playing with, or what? Because
check yourself.
I don't know. So another thing of Chuck's to test, and look, the elephant in the room, the lifetime ball. All right. I've played with it. It's really good in a lot of ways. It bounces too damn high. Okay, get over it. So if you're playing on lifetime courts, it's perfect because those courts don't bounce. And I was going to order some for the test, but dude, they are $12 for a pack of 3 with $8 shipping. That's where I draw the line. I'm not paying $20 for 3 balls. Okay, I just ordered all these other ones, so.
I'm not paying for shipping, dog.
Yeah.
Unless it's $50 or more, I'm not paying shipping.
I think you could buy them directly from a Lifetime, like in person, but I don't. There's no Lifetime here now. Although I am going to Austin soon, so maybe I'll see if I can pop in a Lifetime and buy some balls for $12, which is already expensive.
And grab some balls, dude.
Yeah, and Lifetime, dude. Lifetime is nice. Have you been in one?
No, they don't have them in Louisiana.
Bro, I went as a guest to play some pickleball, and that place is bougie.
Bougie. Yeah, it's like $200
yeah.
a month, bro.
It's so nice. Like everything about it's so nice. There are people like just waiting to give you warm towels and stuff. There's like a whole nice locker room. I'm telling you, bro.
Dang, bro.
Listen, I'm not rich like that, but if I was, I probably still wouldn't go to the gym. All right. So.
Yeah. All right.
Net gains.
We moving on? Oh, updates.
Updates on what?
Did you say updates or you said net gains?
I said net gains.
That's my line. Net gains. All right, man.
Net gains.
What do we got for net gains? Tell me.
So this is a fresh one. This is just I was drilling last night for a while, and I'm gonna kind of take you guys through my mental experience, but in the end, it's actually a really simple thing that's gonna sound very obvious as soon as I say it out loud, and y'all are gonna be like, "You're so stupid. You should know this." But it took me a minute. Okay, it took me a minute to get there. So here's how it went down. I was playing. So basically, my partner and I were playing some dinking games because my dinking is real bad, and I was actually doing pretty well. And I went up in the dinking game, and I don't normally beat this partner at any games. I'll go ahead and spoil that. We drilled for an hour. I didn't win a single drill game. Dinking from either side, 7-11, skinny singles, nothing. I lose them all. Well, it's better than playing with someone who you just like beat every time, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I was actually doing pretty well, and I was up pretty good in this first game. And then couple points happen, he starts coming back, right? And then in my head, I think, oh, I have this lead. Just don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Just make every ball, and then I'll win, right? I start playing super tight. I hit a couple dinks into the net like an idiot, and then lose the game. And then, so now the pendulum swings. Going into the next dinking game, I was like, that's so stupid. Why did I do that? I was like, clearly already winning. Why did I try to play not to lose, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm a good player. I can hit good shots. I need to just be confident and play to win, right? So I go into the next game with this mindset. You already see where this is going.
Justin, time out.
What?
Do you really have this many thoughts during a pickleball game?
I wish. Oh, this is where we're going. I'll get there.
My God, dude. This is unbelievable.
Yes.
All right, continue.
Yeah, I know. Imagine being me.
Maybe
so
it's just because I'm stupid and my brain don't work too much.
Well, we'll get there. I go into the next game, and I'm like, all right, let me play to win. Let me be aggressive. Let me hit my good shots. Like, I'm not just some chump. You know what I mean? And of course, I miss a bunch of shots. Like, I'm playing too fine of margins. I'm hitting balls slightly out. I'm trying to take balls out of the air when I shouldn't. I'm flicking stuff into the top of the net, because it's a little too low. And then I lose that one badly. So, like I said, the pendulum swinging. And this all brought me around to this realization that it's very obvious. And it's just basically what you just said. Both of those things are wrong. You should never be playing not to lose because you'll be too tight and too worried, and you just hit the shots that are normal for you. You should never be trying to play to win. As nice as that sounds, what that does is make you force things, right? So the best place to be is somewhere in the middle, which is what I was doing in the beginning when I just wasn't thinking at all, right? You just are playing. You're just playing the ball that is given to you, right? So you have no preconceived plan about what you're going to do on the next shot or the next shot or the next shot. Sure, having an overarching strategy is not a bad thing, but within a rally, to have some kind of plan about how you're going to hit the upcoming shots is always wrong. You need to just play what's given to you. Sounds super obvious, I know. And so this basically brought me back around to what you just said. There's this stereotype of the dumb jock, right? And there's a reason for that. The people who perform well athletically, they're not thinking while they're doing it, right? They're just doing it. And that's how you should be. And essentially, that is a really half-assed way of describing flow state. When you get into flow state and you're just performing, you're just doing the action that you have practiced doing, you know how to do it, you rely on your muscle memory, and it's just pure focus. It's not thought. And focus and thought sometimes can get conflated, but they're actually quite different. When I'm focused, I'm not thinking at all.
Yeah.
But most of the time, my downfall is I'm thinking too damn much at all times, always. And yeah, it really hurts me. Like, and you know, one of the guys I play with locally, he actually picked this out about me, and he's a like extremely good athlete, and he's gotten really good at pickleball too. And he even said to me, like unprompted one day, he was like, dude, he was like, the same thing that makes you good off the court is what makes you suck on the court. He was like, you're just analyzing too much. And he's right. Yeah. So anyway, I need to figure out, and I've been looking into this a little bit more about how to enter flow state, how to get my brain to shut the fuck up, which is really hard to do. Look, dude, I don't know if I'm not normal, but I'm like thinking 2,000 miles an hour at all times, just always. You know, I don't like have quiet brain moments. And I thought back to the times in my life where I've had real focus and flow state, and here are the times basically. Snowboarding, which is why I've always loved it. And it's because you don't have a chance to think. You know, you're just going down a hill. You have no choice. It's just you need to do what you need to do in the moment. And you know, there's not that much time to be worried about it. And that's why I loved snowboarding. Mountain biking can be similar, especially if you're doing something kind of challenging. And racing, which I grew up racing motocross. I had raced several things in my life, and then I did a lot of very serious sim racing for a while. And over the course of my life, I've kind of been not great at competitive stuff. I've been average or maybe better, you know, at sports. But racing, weirdly, was one thing that I was actually pretty good at. You know, I feel like I can humbly say that. I was always performing really well at racing, and I don't know why, but it's just a more individual thing, and you don't have time to think, you know, because everything's really fast. So anyway, net gains, stop thinking, flow state. I need to figure out, and I may come back to this if I unlock something, but there are flow state triggers. There are ways to get yourself focused. Grounding exercises, which I've talked about before, don't really work for me at this point. So yeah, don't play to win. Don't play not to lose. Just play. Stop worrying about it.
Who would have thought the guy who calls everybody nerds at the beginning of the podcast got called a dumb jock? Who would have thought?
But yeah, you and I have kind of talked about this before. This is not an issue you have.
I definitely think, but not like, I won't be like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that, I got to do that. It's like, no, the only time I'm ever thinking is when I'm about to return a ball, or if like I have like a good chance to attack that's just like blatantly obvious attack, that's when I usually, you know, fuck it up. So
yeah, because you're like, where should I hit it? And then you look up at the rim, and then you miss the ball, and you're like,
yeah.
But well, I'm thinking always.
Yeah, Justin hit me with this line one day. He was like, you know, some people, I think so much that I'll be talking to people and they'll be talking like at a normal pace, and I'll be like, this is so painfully slow. And you would finish their sentences before they would, and just like be ready to go on to the next thing.
Oh, usually, dude, when I'm talking to people, I already can predict what they're going to say, and have already thought of my entire response before they even finish the sentence. If it's something boring, which is, I don't know. Maybe that's normal, maybe not.
The Oracle.
But I have to put a lot of effort into being polite and not interrupting. But that being said, whenever, you know, you enter into something that's really novel and interesting and challenging, and you can't predict it, then it's amazing. And that's like my outlook on movies. I will be able to, like 15 minutes into a movie. Yeah. My wife hates it because we call them dictions, like predictions, obviously, but it's just funnier because it says dick. So I'm supposed to keep my dictions to myself now, because I'll just predict the whole movie 15 minutes in, which is pretty easy. A lot of movies are pretty rote, but whenever I finally see a movie that's like got a crazy twist or just did something really weird, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's what I needed, you know?
Yeah. So you like, you know, Transformers and all that stuff, right?
Oh my God. What? He could turn into a car? I didn't see that coming.
Oh God. Wait, he saved them all at the end? Oh my God. All right, we're going to move on, guys, to everyone's favorite segment. New week, new main, sponsored by Bodhi Pickleball. If you need overgrips, tungsten tape, edge guard, sleeves, bags, towels, and other awesome pickleball accessories. You can use code PURSUIT to save 15% at BodhiPickleball.com. Bodhi Pickleball has some really good stuff, guys. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. I use their tour bag every single time I play pickleball because it is not gigantic, but it is big enough to fit so much crap in there and still be very easy to lug around. So very happy to have Bodhi as a sponsor. New week, new main, baby. What do you got?
It's sleeve season, baby. Just want to say that again. This is like the season for Bodhi because, you know, when it's sweatier, you get the sleeves. You got to change your grips more often because I'm a pleb and I play outdoors. Anyway.
Oh, my God, dude. I played outdoors for the first time in a long time. Jeez, how do you do this, bro? Unbelievable.
You just got to do what you got to do. I know the wind is different every day. Sometimes the sun is directly in your eyes. Yeah, sometimes it's really hot.
Also, it didn't help that we were playing on this court that had like a grade that was very aggressive. You played there.
Oh, I know the court. Yeah, that place is weird.
Beautiful courts, super nice, but the grade is just like it's insane. Like it really is.
Weird.
It does affect it. Yeah. All right. New week, new man. What do you got, baby? Neonic Clarify Max.
I got something new for you.
Oh,
I got approval.
Baby, don't tease me,
I got
man.
approval to mention this. I can't go into too much detail. Okay.
Uh-oh.
This is the bread and butter Psycho.
And baby.
This is an unreleased paddle. These are not the final graphics. So this is essentially a prototype, but I'm pretty positive this version of the prototype, which I think is now the maybe 4th version, is the release version. So I'm prepping, baby. I'm prepping for that nerdy tourney, which we got to use bread and butter paddles. So yeah, this has been, I'm maining this and practicing up. And yeah, here we go. It is the same shape as the Fat Boy. I think I can say that. Doug has already said, I'll say a few things that Doug's already said, so I know I can say them. It's a 14 millimeter paddle. And yeah.
Just using your pretty privilege.
That's all I can tell you. But yeah, this would probably be the main for the Nerdy Tourney. This has been the main actually for a little while, a few weeks, and will likely continue to be throughout May. And yeah, my weight setup doesn't matter to you guys because you can't get this paddle, but it's very similar to what I did on the Flare Prime X. 3 grams at the bottom, 2 grams at the top, 1 gram per inch tape.
Elite mentality.
Basically. Yeah, get on my level maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day you guys will be cool like Justin.
Yeah, hey, and all you other people who are going to the tournament, you know, most everybody's been cool about it, you know, because Doug did say that I helped with the development. Now, let me be honest, I did very little. Just helped him with some testing. So let me not take a bunch of credit or like say, oh, I designed this from ground up, anything like that. However, that's why I have it. So that's why I feel that I have the right to play with it in the Nerdy Tourney. But some people out there are like, no, you shouldn't be able to play with unreleased paddles. It's not fair. As if any paddle is going to make me win a game. So.
Oh, shit, dude. Well, man, I'm at a crossroads.
You've been changing like every week.
I wouldn't even say that I have a main anymore right now. You know, if I'm going to play a tournament right now, which I'm doing on Saturday, probably going to play with the J2NF and just test it out more.
Illegal, bro. Illegal.
It's not a duper. It's just like a fun tournament. No non-sanction, but might as well bring the hush and just play with that. But yeah, no, I don't really have a main right now.
So let's say then you have let's just say you have a tournament tomorrow and you have to play with a legal paddle. What are you going to choose?
C45, baby. We're still on the elongated train, baby. Dustin, PB Med, you little weasel wearing a Manchester City jersey telling me I'm not going to main this for more than a week. I took that personally. I'm going to spank you whenever we go to the bread and butter tournament.
Do we need to wear our Arsenal jerseys next episode?
Yeah, we do. 100%.
I have one somewhere. It's a little tight on me now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I might like that.
I got it like 12 years ago in London. So
okay, dude. I didn't know you were a little gunner. That's pretty tight.
No, I mean, I haven't been following much, but
no wonder we're married. Well, yeah, I would say, yeah, C45 is the paddle that I would pick up if I had to go play in a tournament that was a very serious tournament today. But of course, in the Nerdy Tourney, it's not even a debate. We're going Invader, baby. Invader will be the paddle.
Another
Long time man. Yep. This is going to be not severely lower in terms of firepower to what I've been currently playing with, but it's going to be, this is all court. Probably just above that middle all court category, if you will. So love that paddle. It's so freaking good looking too, man. Just love this. Love the look of it. It's not even just like the graphics and the colors, but the shape is just, it's a perfect aesthetic shape.
That shape is awesome. I will say, if I didn't have the Psycho prototype, or if I'm not allowed to play with it, then I'll be using either the Invader or the Hybrid Filth, which are both the same shape.
I can't imagine that this will not be the most popular choice at the tournament.
I think
Shogun
the Shogun
will
is.
probably be 2. I imagine the Shogun will be the second most used.
I think the Shogun's going to be number 1, actually.
This is their most powerful paddle.
Do you think it is the Shogun?
No, I think the Invader has the most
power.
Yeah,
I agree. The Invader is, I agree.
Yeah,
and I think second most is
no
the
slouch.
elongated Filth, actually.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would agree. But I think we'll see a lot of Invaders in hands. So yeah, man. All right. We had a short podcast last week, man. This one's long. We still got NERDTOWN, baby. Take us there, Mayor. What we got, baby?
Choo-choo!
Choo-choo! Been a while, dude.
Oh, man.
Weeks.
I remember the first time, it was like episode 3.
Yeah.
And I just screamed choo-choo out of nowhere, and you just cracked up laughing. And here we are, 40 episodes later, still choo-chooing.
Still being idiots.
All right, so this was requested NERDTOWN. I just want to talk real quick about paddle variants. Basically, we're talking about within the same model, right? I'm just using this one as an example because it's right next to me. But imagine this is a Ripple V2 R2, right? And then I have one, and then Lewis has one. Everyone has one, right? What happens if there is variances or differences in metrics and or playability between those models? We're talking essentially copies of the same model. Mm-hmm. Why does that happen? How does that happen? And, what are the outcomes? So again, like I was talking about before, I do a lot of this for work where I'm essentially like an extended QC department. And when we are making prototypes or ordering from a new factory or anything like that, oftentimes I will intentionally get, let's say, 2 to 4 copies of the same exact build in order to test the variance. And the main reason I'm doing this whenever it's a new factory or a new prototyping process is we're trying to test the tolerances within that factory or that manufacturing process. Some processes have higher or lower tolerances. And tolerances just mean that, a given material, whenever you order it, let's say honeycomb, for instance, you may order it at a certain thickness and a certain weight per sheet. Well, they have tolerances built in, the actual supplier does. They're saying, yes, this is the weight and this is the density. However, these can vary slightly over the course of them manufacturing it. And that could be a lot of things. With honeycomb, it's real clear why, because when you're cutting it into a paddle shape, maybe you're cutting through more cells, maybe you're, leaving more solid cells. You just essentially cut more or less plastic out of the core, because the core is pretty much plastic and air. So if you change that ratio just slightly of plastic to air, it changes, right? So we all know this when we're shopping for paddles. The websites will say, 7.9 to 8.1 ounces. And that is building in the tolerances, the manufacturing variance. And the reason why it becomes so large, sometimes like, let's say 7.8 to 8.2, 0.4 ounces is a huge swing. But every single piece of the paddle, from the composite layups to the core to the grip, they all have their slight little tolerances. And if you catch a perfect paddle where everything is on the heavy side, they all add up. Now you get a heavy paddle. If you did the opposite and you just happened to get one where all the tolerances were slightly low on each of the individual parts, then now you get a significantly lighter full paddle. That being said, that weight can make a big difference, because that affects now not only the static weight of the paddle, but the swing weight and the twist weight and the balance point. All these things we know are metrics that affect playability. So if you have a paddle on one end of the spectrum to the other, the heavier one is going to feel more stable, more powerful, maybe more or less maneuverable versus, the lighter one. So this is the basic part of it. Okay. And then let's talk about, that's just talking about tolerances with materials. Now let's talk about manufacturing variants, which can come down to QA and QC a little bit. Some people are going to be much better about this. I say people, some factories are going to be much better about this than others. And this comes down to the actual things that are done by hand. Like a lot of these layups are made by hand. Are they trimming excess material correctly? Is the percentage of epoxy used the right amount? Is the glue under the edge guard just plopped under there, or is it a thin bead? Is the grip when it's wrapped chopped a little short or a little long? There are a lot of little things. Again, these are all very small individually, but they can add up to make a lot of manufacturing variants. And you can sometimes see it. And with the expanding foam, it happens also. The expanding foam in the edge of a Gen 2 paddle, sometimes you'll cut 4 copies of the same model, and the foam will be 2 millimeters thicker on one than the other, or maybe not 2, but 1. But that adds up over the course of a whole paddle. So anyway, that's all to say that those are the variances within the paddles, right? And they come from tolerances and manufacturing variants. Now, when we're talking about testing, right? We've all done this where we're interested in a paddle, we look up reviews, and we're like, this reviewer is saying this, but this one's saying this, and this one's saying this. Like this, it's an all-core paddle, and the other person's like, no, it's very powerful, or it's stiff, it's soft. It's just complicated, but there are so many variables, right? These reviewers often live in different places. And you're playing, unless you play in the exact same indoor facility that has humidity control as well, then the climate makes a big difference. And even if they say, oh, I play in here at 72 every day, well, what about the humidity, And what about the elevation? Elevation actually makes a large difference on how balls play, on how paddles play.
John Q talks about that a lot, fortunately.
Yeah. John Q is a good one because he lives in Denver or around the area, so he mentions it. But yeah, it makes a big difference. And then not only that, what ball are they playing with? And even beyond that, are they someone who only plays with new balls, right? Because we all know a ball snob like me who only plays with the Franklin for like 4 games, that's very different. Franklin for the first 4 games is very different than when it's on game 18, very different. And it's going to make your paddle feel different. So there are just many variables to account for. And going back to the manufacturing ones, if you are at a factory that is on top of their QA and their QC, both from the suppliers and making sure all the materials that are supplied are within tolerance, and that their manual labor type stuff is actually done well and consistently, you will still have a little bit of variance, but we're talking about a small amount here. And that variance is really just going to be weight, like we talked about. So that affects the swing weight, twist weight, balance point. But that's it. You're not getting massive differences in the paddle. Those differences are things you could change on your own with lead tape, to kind of get everything back to normal.
And if there are issues with like changes in power, likely there's something, to do with the core having, some integrity issues.
Yeah, actually, good point. I was about to just glaze right over that. Core crushing, which is another QA and QC, issue. And that is something that I very much check for, is the health of cores. That can make a massive difference on how powerful a paddle feels and how much it breaks in, how much it changes over time. So again, if you're working with a good brand or factory that's on top of their stuff, they're not going to be, having batches of paddles, not many at least, sold to the public with compromised cores. So that's a big one. We all know that one though. If someone randomly has a copy of a certain model of paddle that we all know is like a control paddle, but there's this crazy powerful and it's really loud, you're like, oh, okay, that's a broken paddle. That's a compromised core. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of a different thing. But yeah, so that's model variants, and that's why every review, even from the absolute best reviewers, should be taken with context. And I say a grain of salt, but I don't mean it in a negative way towards reviewers, because a lot of the good reviewers are very good and they're very unbiased and they try to relate things to, other experiences and other paddles. But it's always a story. It's never, this is exactly how this paddle is going to play for you. Here, go buy it. You have to understand, what are they saying in relation to other paddles that what are they saying in relation to where they're playing, what ball they're playing with, and then also maybe get the full picture by checking what other reviewers are saying about it as well and taking those exact same things into account.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, you can sort of paint the general idea. But I mean, I'm not trying to sell paddles here, but a lot of times you don't know until you play with it. The specifics.
100%. Yeah,
how
sure.
it feels. Yeah.
And I would echo that. I try to say this every 10 or so episodes, but just because I say something or Chris says something or John says something or whatever reviewer you watch, it doesn't mean it's the truth. It's always, at the end of the day, our opinions, unless there are data-driven tests that are, have very little error potentially in them. Like, really the only person right now who's doing that is John Q with the Q core. So
which is awesome.
Every other, spin test, power test, thoughts, they're all flawed, which is fine. There's nothing, I'm not saying that, it's bad that Braden,
maybe not flawed, but just subjective.
Yeah, they're subjective, and there is a potential for variability and error. Not, like I said, not saying anything wrong, with Braden doing power testing and pop testing or whoever doing those tests. They're just not a perfect system. It never will be a perfect system until there's a robot and, high-speed cameras for, spin test or super accurate ways to, measure these things. So with that being said, we are giving our honest opinions, and they are not facts that will translate to every single person who uses this paddle. It's just our best way to, I guess, really just say how we feel about a paddle and how it plays and compares to others.
It's still valuable. It's still really valuable.
Yeah. So, don't take everything as whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's, it can vary. As Justin said, it can vary by paddle to paddle. There's just, unfortunately, it's not a perfect system. Nothing will be, and that's fine.
Right.
But use your your brain and watch more people to kind of get a holistic view of paddles. That usually is the best way to do it. All right, man. Anything else before we sign off, big guy?
Nope.
All right, I gotta
run.
See you soon. Yep. See you soon, baby. This is episode 43 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, with Pickleball Pursuit, here with my co-host, Justin, from Pickleball, etc. Until the next one, let us know if you have any questions, topics that you would like for us to discuss in future episodes by putting those in the comment section below. Until then, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.